Well, the Celtic Tigers, a toothless tabby now. Ireland's set to become the worst performing of the developed European economies with a huge budget deficit. Even talk of a European central bank bailout on the horizon. To investigate the prospects, I've been talking to the junior finance minister and to a commentator who believes the Irish government's response to the crisis is making things worse.
Well, I think that as long as the government dithers, yes, it will be. I think that unless we see some decisive action immediately, we are going to see more and more job losses, we're going to see emigration, we're going to see more people losing their houses. You know, it's a bit like that expression when Nero fiddled as Rome burned.
So, Martin Mansergh, you're fiddling.
Well, I don't accept that, of course, in the least. I mean, we're pushing through the Parliament a bill, the pension, it's called the Emergency Measures Bill, but the pension levy effectively, despite protests on the street and picketing of deputies, and that is anticipated to save $2 billion. And of course, I mean, this is on top of measures taken last year, both in July and in the autumn budget.
I mean, measures characterised by the European Union as unclear and underdeveloped.
Well, look, we're not going to clobber people with everything at once.
Why not?
I mean,
why not?
Why not? Because you would depress the economy quite unreasonably.
It's not depressed already.
It is depressed already, but we are trying to save jobs, to save the maximum of jobs going through. I mean, for example, in relation to the public sector, we have to cut the public sector pay bill. You either cut jobs or you cut net incomes, and we're cutting the net incomes, and we're doing that in the teeth of, as you can see, trade union opposition. So please don't tell us that we're dithering and not doing anything.
I have to say you are dithering, because every day we're hearing about more and more job losses. Okay, there was an article in today's paper saying that a bank would not give a small business owner €3,000. And as a result of that, I think something like between 12 and 20 jobs are going to go. Now, €3,000, okay? As taxpayers, our money is going into these banks, and they're still refusing to loan. To small businesses. Small businesses are going to the wall. So, I see the insolvency statistics every day.
The worry is that the government might be trying to deal with the macro issues, but that the micro issues are still costing.
Everybody wants practical solutions.
No, I mean, the recap. Yes, but look, the government isn't King Canute. I mean, no government in the world is managing, if you like, to roll back depression yet at this point in time. And every government is having some difficulties getting banks that are not nationalised.
Create an Irish bank, Irish government bank, and loan directly to small businesses.
I mean, we've nationalised.
A different bank.
Yes, but look, I'm sorry. The small businesses. I mean, some of them have a lot of trading difficulties. You have to be a little bit careful about sort of lending money, which you're never going, which you're never going to be able to.
€3,000, and you could have saved 12 jobs.
Anyone can talk about sort of specific instances. I mean, I'm not briefed on the particular one that you have, but I have dealt with representations in my constituency about by particular firms, and I think in some instances loans are being made available, but it's recognised here and in other countries. And I mean, if you read the British press, it's the same problem there. There are problems.
You guys are doing nothing. Nothing.
I want to look north, if we can, Martin Mansergh. I mean, it's not so very long since the Irish government was giving £700 million to Northern Ireland for infrastructural development.
I think it was 580, actually, 584, but...
Fine. Let's not argue about the figures. Hundreds of millions of euro. Now, is that going to stop?
The government's position is that it is behind the national development. It has made the point that possibly certain projects might take a bit longer than was originally envisaged. The worst that will be happen is that they will be delivered over a slightly longer period, and that's happening in this jurisdiction as well.
All right. In general, though, Margaret, is this a time to be thinking about an all-Ireland, an all-island economy, as Sinn Féin were emphasising so much at their Ardèche at the weekend?
Well, I think this is the time to say goodbye to politics. I think that we're at war and that this is an emergency. We're absolutely fighting for our economic lives, and I think that a lot of people either don't realise it or they're so angry and they don't know how to express it. So I absolutely believe all the party politics, it has to go. And people need to get together and say, we are in this together. Let's see what we can do together. I think they need to reopen the talks with the social partners, and I think they need to start talking to the public, because people are really, really frightened. They're really scared and confused. Nobody has explained what happened, why it happened, and where we're going from here. So we're seeing our children go off to Australia, where there's still no jobs. They're going to Poland. There are no jobs there, right? So they can't escape it. So what they need to do, the government has to get together and say, no, can I finish, please? Thank you. The government needs to give the people some hope, because otherwise we're going to have mass demonstrations that will achieve nothing.
There is a lot of mobility. We're in a globalised economy. So, I mean, the idea that everybody who goes abroad is being forced out, I mean, that just isn't true.
But it just goes
and
to
the point
show
is, of course, that if you emigrate in this economic environment, you're jumping out of a frying pan into a fire.
Absolutely, because you have no support systems over there. If you don't get a job, what do? You're on the streets.
So we're no worse. But I want to come back to the whole all island thing. I mean, at a time like this, all countries look inwardly, don't they? So
yes.
It's not really a time to be thinking of the all-Ireland economy.
One of the jobs that I have is procurement, government procurement. I wrote to Nigel Dodds a few months ago if I could have a loan of an expert from the Department of Finance and Personnel, and he wrote back saying that we could. The government is very committed to North-South cooperation, so the idea that we just turn in on ourselves and forget about the North, I wouldn't accept that at all, and that would make a nonsense, certainly, of all the work I've been involved in over the past 30 years.
Meanwhile, it's estimated that up to 3% of spending has left the Republic to go north because of the favourable exchange rate with regard to sterling.
I mean,
where do you stand on that?
Well, there are swings and rounds about that. I mean, people still travel south to buy petrol. And over the past 20, 30 years, there have been swings backwards and forwards across the border according to VAT rates.
Border businesses are being crucified, according to their spokespeople.
Well, that happened north of the border for a while, didn't it?
So you're not concerned about that?
No, I'm not saying I'm not concerned about it. I mean, trade as opposed to protectionism, trade is a good thing, not a bad thing. And I mean, there may be an element of where competition, including cross-border competition, is desirable. I mean, that sort of thing keeps everybody on their feet. Now, I do understand, but you see, a lot of emphasis has been put on the 0.5% VAT rise in the budget last year, and then, of course, there was the short term. It's only for about 15 months, I think, the reduction in the British VAT rate. But I mean, the major difference is, of course, the exchange rate. Yeah. And I mean, there was huge exchange rate, which dwarfs the VAT differences.
Right. The European Union Central Bank is very concerned that the Irish deficit could be 3 or 4 times the recommended 3%. Is it realistic to be talking about an EU or perhaps a German bailout of the Irish economy?
Yes. Yes, it is. I think that the government is doing so little that their indecision is a choice. And really what's going to happen here is if they don't start talking to people in Ireland who are incredibly bright and know their stuff and have the solutions, practical solutions, yes, we're going to be, economically colonized, by either Europe or by somebody else who's going to go, you guys are in such a mess, we're going to have to come in and clean it up unless you get your act together.
I need to say I just sort of totally reject that over-the-top analysis. We are taking a lot of difficult, tough decisions in relation to the banks, the budget. The determination of the government is that we will sort this out ourselves. We will sort this out ourselves.
Stop talking and start doing. Right. That's what everybody wants.
Look, this is a problem that has taken place in...
Look
at America, look at Germany, look at so on.
Why aren't they gone?
Well, I mean, stop being...
And why isn't the regulator gone? Why are the top bankers still there?
The regulator is gone.
Look, all the people at the top need to go.
It's such a mess. Populist soapbox oratory is not going to get us anywhere. I mean, I'm amazed that a journalist from a serious newspaper can come out with this. Look, you don't just in politics listen to the people. You have to lead, and you have to take decisions.
You're not leading at all.
That may be your opinion.
It's not my opinion.
It is your opinion.
It's not my opinion.
Margaret,
And Minister Mansergh, thank you very much indeed.